Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about heroes and why I believe they are not a problem for ranked Age of Empires. And stay tuned to the end of the video because I have a super massive hot take that I know many people will not agree with. It's a very unpopular opinion, but I will throw it out there just to start some discussion and see where people's heads are at. But before we do that, before we do any hot taking, I just want to quickly run you guys through what the heroes have been doing for the first 2 weeks of this new expansion, and then kind of talk you through some of my thoughts on the heroes as a option for ranked games in general. So to start things off, only 3 civs get access to heroes. You got the Wu, the Wei, and the Shu. Those 3 civs get a hero in Imperial Age, and no other civ has access to anything of the like. So it's limited to only 3 civilizations, and that's the first reason why it's really not that big of a problem. If you're a ranked player, you're not going to be facing heroes in most of your games. The only way you'll face a hero is if your opponent is picking one of these 3 civs, and on top of that, there are some other conditions that have to be met. They have to get to Imperial Age, and the hero itself will cost 1,000 resources, and on top of that you need a castle for it. So you need imp first, then a castle, and then 1,000 resources to make a hero unit. And of course, with all these factors considered, you only are able to have one hero out on the field at a time. Should you lose your hero, that's perfectly fine, you can always make another, but the rule is you can only have one hero on the field at once. So it's not going to be like a 5 or 10 hero power play as an option. That's not going to be something to worry about. So because there are so many factors that need to be met before you can actually get a hero on the field, in most of your games you just won't be having to deal with it. Remember, not every game goes to Imperial Age, not everyone has 1,000 resources to spend on a hero, and it's a very easy thing to pressure if your opponent is sinking 1,000 resources into a single unit. If he does that at the wrong time, you're gonna have 1,000 resources into other stuff, either tech, multiple units, and you can probably overrun him if he's not careful. So the 1,000 resource is a pretty big sink. 500 food and 500 gold is a crucial amount of resources in the late game. And on top of that, the heroes are just simply not as high impact as I initially thought. The aura is quite nice, but it's only a small boost, something like 10%. So while you feel it and it's quite solid, it's not like a game-changing or an overpowered thing where you just can't compete with the opponent's army at all now. The unit itself is also not that crazy. It's a really strong, really tanky unit, but it's not going to completely turn the tide of a fight on its own. So I feel like the hero is decent impact, it's noticeable and it's solid, but it's not overpowered and it's not like unbeatable, and it's not like your opponent has a hero so you just can't fight him near his hero. You can definitely take engagement still, and you can definitely focus fire his hero to try to take him out. Which brings me to my next point, which is that the hero can easily die if you're not careful. And on top of that, it's very hard to track the hero. He's got a little aura around him, he's got a little like glow, so you can kind of see him, but if you're not paying attention, you can easily lose track of your hero and you can get him killed quite easily if you just don't know where he's at. This happened to me twice in the same game, and I consider myself to be one of the most alert and aware players in late game. But the reality of it is you've got 200 population to care for. So even though one of those population is very special to you and he's glowing, he's got an aura around him, doesn't mean he can't die just as easily as some of your other population can. Yeah, he's super tanky, but something like 400 or 500 HP with a decent amount of armor can be still quite easily picked off by a group of backline DPS. Like a group of 30-40 arbalists could probably two-shot a hero of that caliber. And that's not that crazy of a situation to have happen. Like your opponent will have a bunch of backline DPS in most games, and if your hero gets too close, you can get focus fired and die before you have the chance to pull him out. This is true mostly for the Liu Bei, the one hero that's on foot. The other two on cavalry are a little bit harder to kill, so they're a little bit more, let's say, resilient, but the one on foot can be so easily picked off, and he's really not that big of a threat. So overall, I just feel like the heroes are exactly that, just not a problem. Your opponent will not get to them every game, not every civ has them, so you're barely seeing them, and they are very expensive. Overall, I had a comment from a chatter that really resonated with me. He said that the heroes just seem like a win more option, and they're very rarely viable in any other situation. So that is absolutely true. It's a win more option. If you're already dominating the game and you're controlling the pace of the game, you can easily afford 1,000 resources for one unit. You're going to be maxed out at 200 pop anyway. You just get one extra unit in there, boom, delete like a scout cav or a hussar, add in your hero unit for 1,000 res, and then charge in with your army. If that's the situation, then sure, the hero will be very solid because you don't have a population issue, you don't have a resource issue, and you're already controlling the game, so you can then snowball it even further using the heroes. In that situation, it's definitely a very strong option, but you have to be already winning comfortably for you to be able to get those conditions met, for you to be able to afford 1,000 resources out of nowhere and have a castle on standby ready to just make the hero. So if those conditions are met, sure, it's a nice option and it does have a solid impact. However, in all other cases, it's really just not that worth it. Think of it this way. If you are even against your opponent, you spend 1,000 resources on a hero, he spends it on 10 units, those 10 units will probably get way more value. Like 10 paladin versus one hero, the 10 paladin are just doing more every single time. And on top of that, if you're behind, there's no world where you're going to be behind, struggling on population, struggling on resources, and you can justify spending 1,000 resources, and it takes long to produce from a castle to bring out a hero and have that guy change the tide of the battle. It's just simply not going to happen. You're not going to be falling behind. You get your hero out, and then suddenly you're ready to push back. Your hero will probably just get picked off because your opponent's, pressuring you, or you won't be able to afford him, or it's just not the right thing to prioritize at the minute. So it's only viable as a win more option, and only viable if you're controlling the game 100%, which just adds another criteria that needs to be met for the hero to be actually viable. And so before I go to my hot take, I quickly want to touch on a few points of criticism that the community brought to the table. And I just want to say that this criticism is absolutely valid. Number one, heroes don't belong in ranked. This is a very valid criticism, and I honestly agree for the most part. Like, if you gave me the option, I would have probably said, hey, let's not introduce heroes with this DLC. It's too risky. It's not fitting with the nature of the game thus far. And I feel like it could cause some waves. So maybe it's best to just play it safe and not include heroes on ranked, and just have them as an option for custom games, or even have them as an option for unranked, for example, quick play. So in my opinion, that's very valid criticism, and I'm not here to change your mind on that. If that's the way you think, I think you have a very good point, and I agree with you to some extent. Now that it's already in the game though, I did see some criticism of people thinking that the hero will absolutely dominate the ranked ladder and it will be just super unfair to play against, and that criticism I would just go ahead and disagree with. The reality of it is, guys, the hero is simply just not that big of a problem, and I don't think there's any viable and consistent hero strategy that will dominate the ladder on any level. It's not even a good option in beginner play. Like, I just don't think it's that good for beginners, because they're gonna lose it. They're gonna lose track of it. If a pro like me can lose track of it and lose it, you better believe the beginner player is not even gonna know where it is at any point. Or they know where it is and they keep it on close tabs, but they're too scared to lose it, so they never fight with it, and therefore it doesn't really get a lot of value. Those are like the two beginner options that I see happening in most cases. Again, I just don't see it doing well at any level. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's overpowered at all. And even the better ones, like the two cavalry heroes, can be lost quite easily if you're not careful. So I just don't think it's the unit that's gonna hit and run, walk in, take a nice fight, walk back. In theory, you can do that, and that sounds great, but in practice, it's just a lot harder to pull off. It's still a bit early to tell. Who knows? The heroes might end up being broken, but my assessment so far is that it's just not that big of an issue. So with that criticism from the public, I will go ahead and disagree based on my experience in the first couple weeks here. Again, it could be subject to change, but I just don't see it changing that much. The hero will always be a niche option, more of a fun option, or more of a win more option they can go for, and only for these three civs. Which brings me to my hot take. So this is my hot take. This is my unpopular opinion that I've been thinking about, and I think it could be a good idea. I'm going to throw it out there, and I want you guys to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think every civilization should get access to a hero. I believe, and again, I spoke earlier, I would not have wanted heroes into ranked. Now that the reality of it is we have 3 heroes in ranked, they're probably not going to remove them, because that's just not how Microsoft works. They don't introduce something, make people pay for it, and then take it away. That's probably even worse if they do that. So I don't think the 3 heroes are going anywhere. If 3 civs have heroes, I would say that every civ should have a hero. And my reasoning for that is because hero units in general are a part of Age of Empires and campaigns and whatnot, and I think they do attribute some cool moments at a casual level. For example, like casual players, beginner players would love to play with a hero in their games. I think that's super fun. Again, it's not a good option, but it's a very fun option for them to play with. And I think if we ever saw hero play in tournaments, that would be super epic. It puts the focus on a singular unit. Everybody in the audience, no matter how good or bad or how new they are to Age of Empires, will understand that this is an important unit, and it just makes it very exciting. If a player loses the hero, or if a player charges in with the hero, or if there's 2 heroes fighting each other, I just think that makes it very, very nice and solid dynamic. And no, these heroes are not like Dota 2. It's not going to transform our game into something else, something that it's not, because in Dota 2 or in other games, your hero is your main character. You level him up through the game, you buy items on him. In Age of Empires, it's not really like a hero. It's more just like a regular unit. It doesn't behave any different than some other unit. Like, for example, a hero with an aura is no different than a Centurion with an aura for the Legionaries, right? It functions very similar to units that are already in the game. So I just don't feel like it's transforming Age of Empires into something that it's not. It's really not that big of a change as people are making it out to be. Of course, you could make the argument that heroes don't belong in ranked or don't belong in multiplayer in general, but now that they're here, I feel like the best way to fix the situation or to make the situation work is to give every civ a hero. And I'll go as far as to say that not every hero needs an aura. For example, Genghis Khan for the Mongols would be a natural choice. That guy does not need an aura. It could just be a really solid Mangudai looking unit, given that golden personal aura, but he doesn't give an aura or a boost to nearby units. He's just a very strong standalone unit. You pay 1,000 resources, you get a Genghis Khan. If you lose him, you got to make another one. You can't have more than one, so it's never going to feel like overpowered or unfair compared to other civs. And hey, if every civ had a hero, then you can't have a situation where one hero is unstoppable, because everyone will have their own option that could help out. Of course, some heroes would likely be overtuned upon release and whatnot. It'll take a bunch of balancing changes to fix them and make sure that they're all relatively even in terms of power level. But I can see a situation where you give a very weak late game civ like the Vikings a very strong hero, give them something to lean on. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I would be more open-minded as a player and as a viewer to this hero idea, again, now that it's already introduced into the game. I'd like to see where we can take this idea. I'd like to see what more heroes can bring, and I would like to see every civilization get access to a hero. I think that would be fun. I think it would be cool, and I think it'd be good for pro players in tournaments and for casuals in their fun games. For the intermediate players, for like the tryhard 10,000 games, 1,300 on the ranked ladder, I think it's still fine as well. Like if you're an intermediate player grinding the ranked ladder, I think it's going to be cool to see heroes every now and then, because they aren't strong enough to ruin your experience and dominate games. So as long as the power level stays as that, I would like to see every civ get a hero, and that is my hot take that I'm sure many of you will disagree with. But I hope I explained it in a reasonable way, so I'm not just like rage baiting for the comment section. I genuinely feel like this could be a good direction to take the game in. And again, you have to come at this issue with the fact that heroes will not be leaving. All right, it's very important, because again, if you give me the choice, I probably wouldn't want heroes in ranked, but now that they're here, I feel like this is the best way to take advantage of them. And I just want to reiterate that point, because I know a lot of you guys will skip over it and say, Hera, they don't belong here. They're already here. All right, we got to fix this situation, and we got to make it as fun and as playable as possible. And that is my solution to, this is my solution to the whole hero thing. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy more of a discussion one for this one, but definitely do enjoy making these discussion videos. Again, feel free to take over in the comment section and give me your thoughts on heroes. If you guys bring in some good points, it's very possible I make a follow-up video with some of the points you guys bring up, and I'd be more than happy to do that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys want more content from me, check out my live stream on Twitch. And if you guys want to get better at the game and learn from me, you can check out my Patreon for all my exclusive guides and content, as well as my strategy guide with color-coded build loaders, and both of those will be found in the description below, both Twitch and Patreon. And with all that said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.